Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of Wednesday, 18 June 2025. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, Berrigan Shire Council's meetings are recorded. By speaking at a council meeting, members of the public agree to being recorded. Berrigan Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Berrigan Shire Council. Confidential matters of council will not be recorded. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Berrigan Shire Council. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the CEO. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Berrigan Shire Council meetings or the discussion depicted therein. Only the official minutes may be relied upon as an official record of the meeting. A recording of the council meeting will be taken for administrative and minute preparation purposes only and is provided to the public for listening purposes to support council's statutory obligations. Berrigan Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands in which we live and thrive. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. The peoples of these great nations, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and lands. We have no apologies or leaves of absence. Do we have any applications for leave of absence? No. Attendance via audio-visual link. We've got Councillor Payne and Councillor Hannan. Would someone like to move that that's accepted? Yep. Councillor Healy seconded. Councillor Brooker, all in favour? Yep. Thank you, carried. Confirmation of previous minutes. The recommendation is the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held in the council chamber on Wednesday 21 May be confirmed. Do we have a mover? Councillor Dennis, the seconder, Councillor Brooker. All in favour of accepting those minutes? Yep. Thank you. Disclosure of interests. Anyone have any interest to disclose today? No, thank you. And we have no mayoral minutes. We'll move on to item 7.1, which is the local traffic committee meeting. We have some recommendations that council adopt the following recommendations from the local traffic committee meeting held on Thursday 15 May 2025. LTC 1, council approved the application made by the Berrigan Rural Fire Service to hold their open day on Saturday 20 September 2025 and the temporary road closure of Cobram Street between Chanter Street and Davis Spud Streets, Berrigan, between the hours of 10 and 4. LTC 2, that council note that Transport for New South Wales is to follow up signage requirements for school bus signs at Ratcliffs Road and Riverina Highway, Berrigan. And LTC 3, that council note the recommendation to implement 60-degree angle parking in Murray Street, Tocumwal, with disabled parking and shared zone as per the concept design, reinstate line marking that has historically been in place and reinforce rule for no parking. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder. Councillor Payne. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Councillor Dennis?
Yep, it's great to see the recommendations align with the listening posts as well. And just a note for the show on the 20th of September, that the air show is on the 21st.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brooker?
I just had a quick question. Have we budgeted?
Do you want to move your microphone closer?
Have we budgeted for and do we have it in the plan to do the parking? Because I think that's very important.
Do
the parking.
Parking.
In Murray Street.
Gary, did you hear that?
Yeah, so we have got the budget available for the line marking and the curb and channel under.
Awesome.
Works.
Thank you.
Gary, I'm interested in the background section of this paper, and this is not necessarily for today, but it indicates that council is not bound by the advice given at LTC, but if we wish to act contrary to unanimous advice or not unanimous advice, we can do so by notification to Transport for New South Wales and New South Wales Police. Can you come back to council at some point in the near future to tell us the circumstances in which we might exercise that? Because I believe there may be some examples we are interested in.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep, noted, I can come back.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, all in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, carried. Okay, items 8.1 through to 8.7 are all for information, and I will go through those progressively. 8.1, Councillor Dennis, did you have something for that one?
Yep, I did. So the application from the DA that's been lodged in the Edward River Council for the expansion of the feedlot, I've just got a question whether it'll cost Berrigan Shire in terms of road usage for that increase. It's gone from 999 to 320,000 for the feedlot, and it just seems like there'll be a lot more traffic on the roads around that area. So in the DA application, is there a cost that the Berrigan Shire Council can allocate to that DA application?
I'll just pass that over to
Andrew?
So through you, you can't pass on costs like that. What happens as part of the process is the application is referred to council for comment. Council can choose to add conditions or raise concerns with it. In this instance, it's been sent to all parties where suitable conditions will be included to ensure that the road formation, width and size is maintained to a suitable level based on the type of development.
Thank you. Okay, 8.2, which is councillor requests. 8.3, councillor listening posts feedback. 8.4 is remote rural and regional health advocacy. 8.5, financial sustainability inquiry, New South Wales government response. 8.6, valuation charges, the IPART report. That was good news. 8.7, free speech in local government in New South Wales. Councillor Healy?
Just a brief question. Have we got our social media policy up for review to make sure that it is consistent with those guidelines? Is it something that...
I've done a desktop review,
Yep.
and I believe it is, but it does need a formal review. I think it's due for a formal review in 2026.
Okay.
So that will sit with Karina, yes, the CEO.
So that's fine. It's in line
It's in
until
line.
2026. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all our for information. So 8.8 through to 8.18 are all to receive and note. So if we can move those as a block, do we have a mover? Councillor Natakawa, a seconder. Councillor Brooker. I'll go through them one by one. 8.8 is Biosecurity and Compliance Quarterly Report. Councillor Dennis, did you have something for that one?
Yep, I did, just in relation to another issue that's been brought up in the past, and that's the weeds along the Women in the Air Force Walk, the WAF Walk, Creek Walk. I'm just wondering if there'll be enough funding to do a weed eradication in the next budget. And another question separate from that is, will other weeds be included in the budget, other noxious weeds be included in the budget as well for the future, or will it stay as is?
Sorry, over to Andrew again.
So the Waff Creek Walk in that area is actually sprayed as part of our ongoing annual maintenance, so that will occur again in the next financial year. In regards to the weeds that we eradicate, they're actually set by the department. So in effect, they govern what we have to eradicate or control, and that's again been established for next year. On a positive note, our council was successful in receiving the most funding from the department based on our weed action plan, and it went up by over 50% the amount of funding we received back, which was positive.
Yes.
Thank you. 8.9 is development determinations.
I just had a comment. There seemed to be rather large influx. Was that, like, there seemed to be very low numbers
From
for a few
nothing to
months,
something.
and then there seemed to be a lot for May.
So for you again, we're probably just back at where we have been tracking for the last couple of years. There was a bit of a lull, and the application numbers I'd probably say are back where we thought they would be.
Okay.
Be mindful that obviously we have department requirements of timeframes, so it does put a bit of a burden on where they do come in at once, but that's part of our process to ensure that we manage them appropriately.
Great, fantastic.
Councillor Dennis?
I have a question. The pending determinations are also listed in the completed.
Sorry, what
So
was?
there's a couple of pending determinations that are listed in May, but they're also listed in as the determined.
I'll have to get back to you which ones you're referring to, sorry.
Okay, we'll take that on notice. Okay, thank you. 18 is the Roads Act 1993 review. Councillor Dennis, did you have something with that?
Yep. So with the roads review, I've got, is the council ready if the cost shifting puts more financial burden on the council? For example, are any roads tagged for closure or to sell to property farmers? Or have a look at that review, and does this also include footpaths? So it's in relation to
Yes, so
the
in
long
what-
letter of the cost shifting and the burden on the council from
Yep.
the state government.
Yeah, so with the Road Act review, they're still in that review stage. They're not up to actually, they're supposed to come back with options around that, and then we know around those options what might affect us going forward and what implications.
We are concerned though, because a
Yes.
lot of the discussion is more telling rather than consulting. So that's why I've put the part in there about being concerned about what the outcomes will be. They feel a little bit predetermined.
Okay, thank you. 811 is the 2024 council election, the final cost. Nothing for that? Okay.
That's nothing new, yeah.
812, the Red Fleet and Rural Fire Service obligations update. Councillor Brooker, did you have something?
Yeah, so I found it very interesting, but I'm just a bit concerned that are we going to be heading down this similar sort of road as the CFA in Victoria at the moment, and causing some angst there, because that could be an issue with your volunteers, because they don't just attend fires, it's accidents and machinery incidences and things like that.
The issue with the rural fleet for local government is that we pay for the maintenance and management of a fleet that we neither own nor control, and we have to have them on we have to depreciate them. So they're on our books, but they're not our stuff.
Yep.
So the issue then is that they are obfuscated as to how much it costs to run an RFS. So we think that that makes them underfunded, quite frankly.
Yep.
So I think that it would be better if it is on their books, so that they can understand the actual costs of running an RFS.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. 813 is the Southern Riverina Drought Resilience Plan implementation update. I just comment the timing of the workshops, a bit more notice and clashing with the council meeting is not ideal, but thank you, Councillor Ngatakawa, for attending this today. Anyone else on that one?
So we did actually send that feedback through to them, and since all of the councils have said this is our meeting days and these are our, our development days, so that they will stay away from those days in the future. Yeah.
And it was, sorry, it was also noted, because Murray have their council meeting today as well, so there was a lack of them being able to participate. But it was quite a good afternoon, evening. So it was good to be there, and it's disappointing not to be able to sort of finish it off today, going through the final sort of pulling it together. But I think it was definitely beneficial being there.
Thank you. 814, we have the Riverina and Murray Joint Organisation Disaster Ready Fund Round 2 project. Councillor Dennis?
Yep, so I noticed that the fund covers a lot of areas that are absolutely brilliant, and it's great to see. But I just wondered if there was extra funding within that budget for all the stakeholders to come together and have a workshop under the proposed RAMJO funding, or will the information required purely come from the council?
It's managed with the emergency response groups, so the LEMCs and things like that. So no, there is a project that RAMJO has set up with the like the likes of Michelle engaged with them to find out what the project is. So it is primarily focused at council's response to disasters. Yes.
Okay, thank you. 815, we have the council community consultation sessions. Councillor Healy?
Just wondering if we're providing a second date for Finley. We'd sort of talked about whether that was a possibility given the short time frame and closure of library between us advertising and our session going on there.
Mayor Julia and I spoke about it yesterday. We've only got tomorrow and Friday to do that.
Right.
But then we're away next week.
Right.
So we felt, and we've got a really good engagement with the video online.
Yep.
So we feel like that's probably enough for this time. Unfortunately, we just do not have time to do.
Having said that, if councillors would like to stand up there and run the show next week and do the prezzo,
we'll
you're welcome.
organise it for you if
Yeah.
you either of you guys want to do it.
You could play the video. That would be bland, but you could.
I can come along if you need as well.
So perhaps if anyone feels compelled to do that, if you could let the Deputy CEO know ASAP so that we can actually give people reasonable notice, because it was only yesterday that we started considering tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, we're just back in the
Yeah.
same issue again.
Yeah.
So
Is there going to be further community consultations around the same
The whole of
topics?
next year will be a whole heap of community consultation around services, provision, financial review. It will be.
So it's not like it's a one and done type situation.
No,
It was
I
more
think
just
they
for the
will be
submission.
consulted.
As the Mayor said to a few of them last night, you're going to get sick of hearing
From
from us
us.
Yeah.
because we're going to be constantly talking, well, you are going to be constantly talking to them. Yep.
Next year's, this 2025-26 is a big year for community consultation, and it has to be.
Yeah,
yeah, it's the exhibition period more than anything else.
more than anything
Yeah.
else, yeah.
But I will continue to advertise the video, and in the Mayor's message, I'll reiterate the existence of the video, and that people can approach their councillors at any time.
I think importantly, it was the first time we have done that during an exhibition period, so we probably learnt a lot from it, and in future years, it will be a lot more organised.
Yeah. Okay, that was 8:15. 8:16, we have the council annual work plan. Councillor Natakawa?
I just noticed that the QBRS is missing for August on that
Oh, did I just
spreadsheet.
forget to put an X in?
So,
Oh, no, it doesn't happen.
doesn't happen?
That's would be.
There's no requirement to do a QBRS in August because you're doing your financial statements. So you do one each quarter, but your end of year is basically the financial statements.
Okay.
That said, you are allowed to do one if you wish, and it's probably something to talk to your responsible accounting officer about, whether that's how they want to work.
Okay. Anyone else? No. 8:17 is actions from previous meetings. Councillor Brooker?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for the works to start at Baruga. They're supposed to be starting on the 21st of July.
Works at Baruga.
The raw water.
Oh, raw water,
Yep.
the bank maintenance.
Yeah. Now, the only concern I have is the time frame of how long it's going to take them to do that, considering that irrigation is going to start again mid-August. So they're only going to have a short window, possibly until that level comes back up.
Yes, no, we've been with the tender at the moment, but the issue is around rock at the moment, so we're waiting on the rock for that works. But works will start as soon as possible, and we are monitoring the river flows to try that time of work and mitigate those measures.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And 8:18?
I actually,
Oh,
sorry, my
8:17?
question's for
Yes.
8:17.
Yes.
Just with regards to the requests for reviewing the speed limits, some of the feedback from Transport New South Wales is that one of the reasons for not warranting the review of the reduction was that there was no community requests. And is that not what we're doing? And how does that get recorded by them, or do we need to have
I think
locals
that
going
was
straight to them?
that was Mayor Julia's request about that we don't have to take their advice. What's the process that we can do that by? Where Transport for New South Wales have said there's no evidence to support 40-kilometre hour zones. As a council, you don't have to necessarily follow that advice. I think that's what the intention
That's
of the
what I was
question
getting at. So we have asked for some more supporting information specifically for Baruga and Tokum, although there are other examples.
Yeah.
And if we do have a discretion, it may be near time to exercise that.
That's fine. I just wasn't sure what do they view as a community
Yeah.
Request or feedback, because I thought that was what we were doing on behalf of community. Or are they expecting people to contact them directly?
It's part of our role.
Yeah.
It is part of our role when the community come and ask us for a 40-kilometre zone
Yeah.
to make sure we keep a record of that. Not just as generic the community's asked us, but such and such contacted us on this date and said they want a 40K zone. We attended a meeting on this date with representatives of the community, and this was the feedback we've got. I think that's about building your evidence base,
Yeah.
so that then you can go, well, no, this isn't just we've heard generic things from the community. This is what we have actually heard. Again, encouraging the community to write. I know that can be a bit of a pain, but those actual letters and submissions made can then also build up that evidence base.
Okay.
If you're asking Transport for New South Wales to go and consult, well, they're not going to go and consult.
No,
So
yeah.
I guess it's your responsibility as elected members and as a council to, if that's what you're hearing, document it, get it in, so it builds your evidence base.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and to note that some of these roads are their responsibility, not ours. So if the community's not going and notifying them around those requests, they've got no evidence around that.
That's what I was wondering. And so our request is not
You still can,
representing all of the request. I guess that's what you're saying.
saying even if
Deputy
it's their
Speaker,
road,
yes.
still gather that evidence and still send it in.
Yeah.
Again, whether they use it or not, I don't know, but I think that's part of your job as part of your advocacy role, as opposed to your actual service owner role, is to have that information so that you can go, right, this is what the community's told us. Bang.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 8:18, we've got the investment report for May 2025. Councillor Brooker, did you have something?
Oh, I just did notice that there is one investment there that was expired on the 10th of June. I'm assuming that that has been rolled over since then and the report just came out before then.
Correct.
That's correct, yep.
Okay.
What you've got is the data as at 31 May, so there'll be things that roll over in that period.
Okay. Anyone else for any of those receive a note? Okay, so all in favour of receiving and noting items 8.8 to 8.18? Thank you, carried. All right, we're up to 8.19, which is the Memorandum of Understanding with Rice Growers Association Landcare. The recommendation is that Council approve the Memorandum of Understanding between Berrigan Shire Council and the Rice Growers Association of Australia and delegate authority to sign the document to the CEO. Do we have a mover? Councillor Healy, a seconder. Councillor Brooker? Any questions? Would you like to say anything in relation to this?
I just think it creates a great opportunity for our biosecurity team to work closely with the Landcare Group through Rice Growers,
Yep.
so, yeah.
Are they paying for the office facilities?
No, but they're providing their own internet and all that sort of stuff, but that in-kind support just means that they're in the office and able to work closely with our weeds people, so I do have a,
Sorry. What we could do potentially is document that as supporting kind.
yes,
and
which is what I
include-
intended to do, yeah.
And keep that in, and publish that in the annual report as part of what we're doing with Landcare.
Yeah, and I think we should put a dollar value on it.
Yes,
Obviously a
absolutely.
reasonable one.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sorry.
All in favour of that recommendation? Thank you, carried. 8.20 is a request to acknowledge the Hawkins family at Tokemall Aerodrome. We don't have a recommendation on this matter. So would you like to introduce this CEO to start with?
Sure, what I wanted to represent in the report was that the Hawkins family weren't the only people who were affected by the establishment of the aerodrome, and that all were in fact paid at some. I know that there is a myth that none were paid, but it took a couple of years for them to be paid, but some were. They were all paid at some level, and I transferred that into today's dollars so you could understand the quantum, because like £620 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's, you know what I mean. So I've sort of done that for you, just so that I could give you enough information to decide how you want to go. I have no idea whether you want to name parts of the aerodrome after various people or whatever, that doesn't matter to me. But I just wanted you to have enough information to make some decision for yourselves.
Thank you. Councillor Hannan, have you got something you wanted to add?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Julia. Obviously, I was approached by Murray Haynes, OMA from Tocumwal around this issue. He'd previously approached the lessees of the Tocumwal Aerodrome Museum about this a while ago, as documented in the appendices as well. Understanding that the dollar value could translate into a significant amount nowadays, but in real terms, they were still removed from their land, significant parcel of land. To my knowledge and all the reports that came back, nobody else has actually asked to be identified or represented in there. And I just think as a case by case, in an appropriate way, we could acknowledge a significant, owners of that land. The request is quite simple. It's a small sign on the front entrance that just says Hawkins Gate. I'd like to move that relevant council staff work with Murray Haynes OMA and the lessees of the Aviation Museum to pick an appropriate location for the sign Hawkins Gate on the front entrance. Also noted in there, it's not going to cost council any money to do this. It's a historical site that we've spent a lot of money on acknowledging the history of it over a long period of time, and I just think this is one of another ways that we could just identify significance.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Yeah.
Councillor Healy?
Can I add a comment?
Yep. So go ahead. Councillor Dennis?
I believe that from understanding of conversations that as Councillor Hannan's pointed out, that the cost to the council will be minimal, if at all any cost. I do believe that the family related to the Hawkins have funding set aside for this. Is that correct in saying that?
Okay. So
I'm not quite sure of that, but I do know that the family are in favour of this going ahead.
okay. So thank you. And Councillor Healy, did you wish to speak in favour of that motion as well?
I think Councillor Hannan has covered most of it. The only other part I would add was that my understanding from reading the appendices was that the majority of the current land of the aerodrome was the Hawkins' property, which is what made sense just in regards to recognising that. And there are other ways that we perhaps can acknowledge the other families if that's required, but case by case, I think.
Mm-hmm. Could I recommend that the motion as it is quite vague? Not trying to be terrible, but if we want to name the gate, let's just say that staff organise the name to be Hawkins Gate, and then we will work with the people to get it erected. It's just a bit vague at the moment.
If I could, sorry.
Yeah.
The way that was written is it would work with the community to name it the gate. I think we're better off, personally, and it's up to obviously the mover and seconder. If you want to name the gate the Hawkins Gate, then I'd have your resolution as that council one formally named the approach gate to the Aerodrome Terminal Museum and Building the Hawkins Gate, and item 2 that council staff work with Murray Haynes OAM and the lessees to arrange a suitable sign to be affixed.
Councillor Hannan, are you happy with that wording?
That's why we pay him the big bucks.
I know. Not getting the big bucks soon. Not from us anyway.
Sorry.
Since you're determining, I'd actually add a third, which would be that any other family member that wants to consider a name gate or something can be considered as part of council officers in that resolution.
Yep.
Because you're ultimately then not having to come back to council every time somebody approaches council.
So any of the others listed in that report,
Could come back to
could
us.
we suggest a consultation, or is that too much? It's probably too much. Too much. So if any of the others listed in the report approach in relation to formal recognition, council officers work with those people. Are you happy with that, Councillor Hannan? Yeah. And Councillor Healy?
Yes.
Very good. All right. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? No, we'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Thank you, carried. Okay, 8:21 is the Murray Regional Tourism Update. The recommendation is that council review the relationship with Murray Regional Tourism during the 25-26 financial year and consider the value proposition as part of the budget build for the 26-27 financial year. Do we have a mover? No mover. Councillor Brooker, yes. A seconder? Councillor Payne. Any questions or comments? I will comment, the regularity of their board meetings, I believe there's 11 a year for a strategic board, is over the top, and I don't doubt that it's difficult for Ramjo to find a volunteer to attend 11 times. I think that feedback should be given to them. That's all I'd say on that. Anybody else? Councillor Dennis?
Just to keep an eye on the benefits from this area and probably the continued reporting of the benefits to this area.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
I've got to
yeah.
review during 25,
I did see
26,
that.
Yeah.
But just to keep a good eye on it.
Okay, excellent. Councillor Dennis, anyone else?
Do we get a lot of value for this?
The value?
Yeah. Do we get a lot of value out of this?
We have in the past, but the Murray River Council, Edward River Council and us met with the board not long ago to say we feel that that has dropped off significantly in the last little while. We wanted to give them the chance to repair that to some extent before, because we have had some really good outcomes from them, just not recently, and we needed to keep our feet on that, you know, our eyes on that problem. So I have been engaging with the chair and the deputy chair and the CEO to make sure that we still get value from them. Federation Council look like they probably won't continue their relationship with MRT. But yeah, we're all keeping an eye on what's going on, if that makes sense.
It does a little, but yeah, I just don't see what we're getting. Do they have any ruling over the height of the river or anything like that?
No, they don't.
Do they ever go into bat for that?
Concerningly, they have been receiving some funding from the MDBA, and at the last time the rivers were at the wrong levels, they basically just reiterated what the MDBA said, and
I called a meeting.
Yes, and the feedback from Julia and myself, and since other CEOs, has been your role is to advocate for our communities and their tourism and the importance of the river. You can't, therefore, just reiterate the MDBA line. So,
Because we don't have a river at the moment.
no, it's very low.
We've got a creek.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favour of the, Councillor Hannan?
Just a question through you, Mayor. How many members are still in existence of the Murray Tourism Board?
All of the, so from Albury to Wentworth along the river and Edward River are all members of MRT, the Murray Regional Tourism, and then there's the Murray River Group of Councils on the Victorian side, so those 6 councils over that side, they're all members of Murray Regional Tourism.
So they're all financially paid?
They are all financially paid and feed up. With Wentworth and Balranald coming into Ramjo, they may be able to take up the seat on the Ramjo board. But like Mayor Julia has said, 11 meetings a year is a lot, and they're in like Echuca, or you've got to travel for them. So it is a significant impost, as you know, from the 2 years I spent on the board, I was away a fair bit with them. So yeah,
It's a governing body. It makes zero sense to have 11 meetings for that sort of organisation. Anyway,
What is our cost?
22?
22 at the moment. Yeah,
22,000.
it's in the report there, I think. Yes.
22,000.
We are committed for this financial year by virtue of an agreement, aren't we?
By virtue of an agreement. So at the moment we have an agreement in place that was for 24-25, which was for $25,000. This year is 25,865, and next year is the last year of the agreement, is $26,000. But yes, so that's
Okay.
why I will be reviewing it in the during this next year.
All in favour of that recommendation? Okay, thank you, carried. 8.22, the Small Business Grants Pilot Program. We have a recommendation that the council adopts the Small Business Grants Pilot Program as a permanent program and that we allocate funds of $40,000 annually to support the program. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder? Councillor Payne? All right. Would Councillor Stringer or Councillor Payne like to speak in favour of that recommendation?
Girls first. You're not. You go first.
Councillor Payne?
Fantastic for the community. And they can actually see, well, we can see there that we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Yeah, that's just, that's fantastic outcome and good to see that the money is being implemented within the Shire and in a different way than a party.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Stringer?
Yeah, I think it's better than the business awards because it's going to cover a lot more businesses than possible. Mine, for instance, I was never voted for a business award because 90% of my customers are tourism. So it's never going to, and it didn't worry me. But by having it this way, it's bringing those small businesses that would never normally get their head into the picture. It's bringing them up and about, and I think it's great that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to speak in favour of the motion? No? Anyone like to speak against the motion? I would like to say that I'm troubled by 40,000, where 20 of it is not budgeted, and we have a budget on exhibition. My preference is to remain at 20,000 and for the team to come back to us in 6 months' time and consider what our financial position is. But the dollar and cents are important at this point. What do the mover and seconder? Hang on, we've got Councillor Hannan. I'll let Councillor Hannan speak.
Just a question through you, Mayor. We do have an events program. Is it still running and is it still funded?
Yes and yes.
Okay. And is there a possibility? Can you just tell the listeners how much the events fund is, and is there a possibility? Because I'm sensing from the room that obviously being able to support small business is really important in a time where things are tough, and obviously. Is there an opportunity to shift some of the events funding over to this program as well for 12 months?
The events funding is already committed. That those events are generally the same events each year, but they are already committed. I'll let Andrew answer.
There's also another report coming to you in relation to extending that event funding for over a 3-year period. So those funds are actually
that's through the
previously
CBBT.
allocated and proposed to be allocated for the next 3 years. In relation to the funds or the shortfall here, the opportunities has been considered about where we might be able to move some of those funds to prop up the difference between the two. But it's a decision of council if they want to change the dollar amount.
Yeah, thank you.
So sorry, just to further add to that, so the events funding allocation, is it 60,000 or is it 80?
No, $30,000 for, sorry.
So $30,000 is committed to Cobram Barooga Tourism, Cobram Barooga Business.
Business and tourism, yep.
Which you'll see the reporting, but the total amount of allocation is just shy of 80,000, but that's given to other things like Strawberry Fields, Australia Day, thank you very much, and all the other events that we run as part of the program that are actually built into the community strategic plan as well.
Yep.
So those funds were all allocated out, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Correct, and those funds haven't really changed over a few years.
Okay. Mover and seconder, do you wish to retain the 40,000, in which case we'll put it to the vote and then I'll foreshadow an alternative motion?
I'm happy to drop it.
You're happy to drop it
Yeah,
to 20,000?
if we can't afford it, why put ourselves under pressure by doing it?
And come back in 6 months,
Yeah.
is it? So we'll
Yeah.
add a C, and to return to council at the December meeting to see if a further allocation. Councillor Payne, are you happy with that? Okay, so it's not really a no.
So excuse me, you'd need to amend B.
Just,
Yeah, we will amend
Yeah.
B to 20, yeah.
if I may, just on what Andrew said, in what way are we funding Strawberry Fields?
Through sort of in-kind practices. So officers give up their time to review the traffic impact assessment report. They give up time to actually go out on site and check that the facility complies with where they're all located. And officers give up time in regards to septic removal and allocations. So it's a in-kind, which is part of the opportunities that we offer through the funding.
With the money they generate, shouldn't we think about saying you've had your in-kind and now you got to pay?
Fairly good opportune time to raise that because that's exactly what officers have put back to them.
Let's take that one on notice for another
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got an amendment to Part B to 20,000 and then to come back to council in December. So all in favour of that recommendation? Excellent, thank you, carried. We're up to Cobram Barooga Business and Tourism Inc. event funding proposal. The recommendation is that council enters into a 3-year funding agreement with Cobram Barooga Business and Tourism commencing in the 25-26 financial year and determine the annual contribution over a 3-year period as $30,000 per year. Do we have a mover?
Isn't this what we just,
No, this is Cobram Barooga Business and Tourism, which includes things like the
That is in our events, it is included in our events thing, but what we've had is annually they come and ask for money. This is just to say that we will keep that money in there for them. They do 7 odd events each year that bring in quite a deal of money to our shire. This is just so that we don't have to come back every single year and ask
I'm happy to move that.
Yeah.
Okay, councillor Stringer seconded. Councillor Brooker? Okay, would anyone like to speak in favour? I'd say they bring in a good deal. Bang for the buck is actually very good. It included the golf, the volleyball, Australian volleyball, a whole range of
Tri-state games.
tri-state games,
Yeah.
and very active in the business community. And it not only benefits Cobram Barooga, that extends to Tokemall as well. Anyone else wish to speak?
And our commitment is the smallest of the 3 contributions to it as well. So
Yep.
I did notice Moira's got double and Sporties has got more as well.
Okay. All in favour of that recommendation? Okay, thank you, carried. Okay, 8.24, write-off water consumption. The recommendation is that council under section 607 of the LGA 1993 and clause 131, parts 1 to 6 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021, write off the following amounts from the period 18 November 2020, current assessment for assessment number 1345, lot 44, DP 1250358 in Bruton Street, Tokemall, of $3,471.60, which is recorded as arrears, and interest of $1,074.52. Do we have a mover? Councillor Dennis, a seconder. Councillor Healy. Anything? No? Any questions or comments? Does this not fit within your delegation, CEO?
It does normally, however, it was just the circumstance that we felt was a bit, we needed to let people know that there was a mistake internally, and we would prefer that it was on the record.
Okay. All right, all in favour of that recommendation? Okay, thank you, carried. 8.25, developer concession application, Ray Brooks Investments Development Projects. The recommendation is that council inform the applicant it is unable to grant the developer concession to the properties as requested, as developer concessions have been discontinued. Do we have a mover?
Yeah.
Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Healy. Councillor Stringer. Councillor Natakar, would you like to speak in favour of that?
I just think the fact that the developer concessions have been discontinued, we just need to let them know that that is case in point, and we can then refer them to the current documents on exhibition to show that it's no longer being funded.
Councillor Brooker.
May I speak on this one? If I'm not sure if everyone recalls this same application came to us in the October meeting. We declined it last year because they didn't get their paperwork in on time, and it was still current. Now, in line with the current policy that's in date until 1st of July, it does still state that if they get their paperwork in on time, that it can be considered. So I just, and it's not adapted until then. I thought maybe we could look at the possibility of they paid them last year. We can do that, but then be advised that going forward there are no more development concessions, only because we declined it last year because they didn't get their paperwork in. They've done their due diligence this year and actually got their paperwork in on time.
I do have a technical question along the lines of Councillor Brooker. The Statement of Revenue Policy 25-26 has not yet been adopted, am I correct?
That's correct.
So the policy that's currently in place is the 24-25, so in fact it has not been discontinued.
Yeah.
Deputy CEO.
Correct. However, developer concessions and the option to offer a developer concession for 25-26 needs to be covered in your policy that covers 25-26. So if you're of a mind to allow these concessions, you need to ensure that they're actually covered in your statement of revenue policy. So that will mean the one you've got in exhibition will need to be amended before you adopt it at the next meeting.
To say that you
To
accept
say
for
that you
those
will accept
properties.
development contributions in 25-26, because your 24-25 statement of revenue policy applies to 24-25. Your 25-26 one applies. And this is one of the things that it is reasonably strict. If you haven't got it in your statement of revenue policy, then you can't be offering it.
But there can't be any others come through, can there? Because the paperwork had to be in by the 31st of May.
Correct. But you'll still need to
Amend the
ensure that your
statement of revenue
25-26 policy says, and even if you want to clarify it was, this is it and it'll be terminating next year, to be crystal clear, but you can't offer a development concession if it's not in your 25-26 statement of revenue policy.
I reckon.
Which you can do, you can amend
Yeah.
it, it's out on exhibition now.
Just a
It's a
question.
cart before the
Sorry.
horse situation there.
Yeah.
Councillor Natakar.
So the 31st of May cut-off is for development concessions for 25-26?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's how I read it
So
and
the
understood
issue
it.
that you've got is when you put your draft statements out, your draft integrated plans, it included in there a statement of revenue policy. It said we're not offering developer concessions in 25-26.
Yeah.
Now, Brooks's have sent this through before you put those documents out in exhibition, so they've done and followed what the process was at the time. However, in the interim, you have made a proposal, I should say, to change that policy. The question before you is, do you allow this one? If you do, then you need to amend your policy to allow it to happen. Or do you say, no, we've made the philosophical and principled decision to remove the concessions and we just need to draw a line? It really wouldn't matter whether it was this year, next year. At some stage, you're always going to have that gap between people looking at the rules as they apply this year and changing them next, just because of the timing.
I appreciate that, but I actually think the motion is worded incorrectly because they have not been discontinued. We have it's on exhibition with a view to discontinue.
We can certainly, you can amend the resolution
Yeah.
to reflect the current state of play.
Yeah. Are mover and seconder happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Brooker, would you like to foreshadow an alternative motion?
It's just a hard one. I just thought when I read that,
I agree.
remembered that it came, and can we amend it to say that this one will be accepted, knowing that the 26-27 there will be no concessions, because
You can foreshadow that. We can put the first one to the vote.
Yep.
And then we'll come to you if that doesn't. Okay.
Can I just clarify, please?
Yes.
And I think you have said it, but I just want to be sure. So this amount that we're talking about now, or this request, is for the 25, 26, not, I just couldn't work that out, whether it
So
was
that's
from
for
the
the
24.
25-26 rating year, yes.
And it was in before May
Yeah,
31.
they've met their obligations under the policy as it exists now. The issue that you've got is you as a councillor has foreshadowed in your draft documents that you're not proposing
Yeah.
to continue that policy. So a foreshadowed motion, if you wanted to look at that, would be something along the lines of that council amend the statement of revenue policy currently on exhibition to allow for those developer concessions that were received before the 31st of May 2025 to be included in the statement of revenue policy.
Okay, so that's councillor Hannan.
Just a question, how long are this property been getting development concessions for?
They were declined last time, and I don't think they've received them before. Am I right?
For this subdivision, I would need to take that on notice, but I don't think it's that old a development, is it, DCD?
No, it's not.
No.
No, so for this one, probably not, but certainly Brooks's as developers, along with a lot of other developers, have had these concessions
For a
various
very long
developments
time.
For a long time. I think one of the reasons why, and it's in the report, that we're looking at staff level to say, are these developer concessions actually necessary, is these developments used to be developed and sit on the books for a long time, and we wanted to encourage people to develop and not have to have these holding costs. We're at a stage now where developers, as they develop, are getting the blocks off the books fairly quickly. And number two, including these sort of holding charges on there encourages them to price them competitively to get them off the books very quickly. So I think your position, councillors, in terms of phasing them out is the correct way to go. I think, as you say, the issue is the timing of this one, given that you have got a valid application in front of you.
I would have
Okay.
a further question, Mayor Julia.
Go ahead.
To the Director of Planning, do they start then paying development contributions when they sell the first block of land, or is it until the whole parcel sold in each of those areas?
For you, it depends if they stage their subdivision. So normally if it's done as one stage based on being smaller lots, you'd have to pay the contribution all in one when you're under construction.
There's a potential that that mightn't happen.
There is potential that they can sit on the DA on the basis that the consent lasts for 5 years. So you might not start development until the latter point of that timeframe.
And the only contribution concession they'll get is for the 25-26 year, is that correct?
Through their application that they've made,
Yes.
if that was changed, yes.
This isn't a developer application.
This isn't
no,
a
this is
developer
the
contribution.
This is actually paying water and sewer rates on the blocks.
Yes.
So it's a concession, so they don't have to pay those charges while they're not actually connected, even though
Yeah.
most places would.
Okay, so we'll put the recommendation with the amendment around the technicality about whether the policy's been adopted yet. So all in favour of the recommendation, and
First
it's
recipe.
just slipped down.
Sorry, no, could you just go back up, please? So, yeah,
That council inform the applicant it's unable to grant the developer concession to the properties as requested, as developer concessions have been foreshadowed as discontinued in the draft strategic revenue statement of revenue policy. Okay, so hands up high, all in favour of that recommendation.
So you mentioned foreshadow's not.
no, well,
No, no, we
voting
do
on
the
first
reco
one.
first, and if that doesn't go through, then we go to the foreshadow. So the one I just read out, all in favour? We've got 1, 2, anyone else? Councillor String, no? I want to be clear, hands up, everyone. If you're in favour of the recommendation that we inform the applicant that we're unable to grant the development concession. Okay,
Tough one.
that did not go through, so we'll now move to councillor Brooker's foreshadowed motion. is that we inform the applicant that the development concession is granted.
And that we amend the statement of revenue policy to allow for developer concessions received before 31st of May 2025 to be included in
That you,
that
For
document.
this,
so
in this,
what you're doing is directing staff to come back with a statement of revenue policy that includes the,
Yep.
that includes.
Does that then need to go back on public exhibition?
No, it's part of the,
Can I just request that being written in full, so,
yeah, well, the councillor Brooker she's moved it, so let's get the wording right for councillor Brooker. So that council inform the applicant that the developer concession to the properties as requested has been granted. Are you happy with that?
For the 25-26 year.
Yep.
No pressure, Shan.
sorry, it's hard to type.
It is.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I just wanted to make sure it was
Yeah.
clear.
And everybody's
Yeah.
watching for mistakes.
Can I suggest you?
Yeah.
Do we want, councillor Brooker, do you also want them to be advised that it's unlikely the council will continue this policy?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So just after the 25, 26, if you could advise that it won't continue. Yeah.
Unlikely, because we can't bind ourselves.
That's correct, you can't bind a future council.
Yeah.
Council's proposed to.
To discontinue the concessions.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got an amendment to the draft statement of revenue policy. We inform the applicant that we grant the development concessions in 25, 26, and we indicate that council is unlikely to continue those development concessions beyond this coming financial year. All right, that's are you happy with that, councillor Brooker? Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Nardikoa. All right, so we'll put that to the vote. Can I have hands up, please, on that one? Okay, carried. Thank you. Good debate, everyone. All right, we have Honeybull Drive Domestic Waste Management Charge. And this is, that recommendation of council is sought. Would CEO like to speak on this? Or somebody else?
I will defer it to the Deputy CEO because
Okay.
he's written this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we have is we've had a petition that came through earlier this year from the residents of Honeybull Drive. They are included in what's called our domestic waste management collection zone. So in other words, our waste management vehicles drive past there and pick up their bins on the curbside service. So they're paying the full charge of that service. They have told us that they've already got a private collector who's doing the job as per what they need, and they're happy with that service. It's a cheaper service, it meets all their needs, and they don't believe they need to be in the benefited zone. Sorry. So we basically we had a petition from Honeybull Drive residents. They are included in the DWM collection zone, so their rubbish is getting picked up by our trucks. They have indicated to us that they don't believe that's necessary because they've got a private service that meets all their requirements, and they would like to be removed from the collection zone. We have looked at their proposal and we have identified that there are some inconsistencies across the rural residential area for properties that are inside the collection area and those that are out. For example, Honeybull Drive is in and Clare Drive is out. Now, from our point of view, we don't see there's a huge amount of difference between the two streets. So there is probably a need to look at what we can do for some consistency. However, from council's point of view, when we've gone out for the contract for the collection, it's in our interest to have as many properties as we can inside that zone, because that minimises the actual cost to each property that you're collecting. The more you start to exempt various streets and roads from the collection area, the less economic you make the service for everybody. Plus, you've also got a public health obligation to ensure that properties, especially in the more built-up areas, actually have a waste collection service. So what you're being asked to do, councillors, is to consider the petition from Honeyball Drive. Do you think their request is reasonable? And would you like to exempt them, to remove them from the benefit area? Or number two, do you want to wait until you do a review of all your rural res areas and have that come back to you, or at least even staff do an internal review, just to make sure that we're being consistent across the board? And in the meantime, do you want to allow Honeyball Drive to have an uncollected charge? So they're still paying something, because if they're inside the zone, you have to charge them. You haven't got a choice. You've got to charge them either the full charge of the service, or at least some charge to say that the truck's going past your place whether you use it or not. So that's where it comes down to. There is an issue that we have, having looked at it, gone, it's pretty hard for us we don't seem to have a rational ground for why they were included and they weren't, other than it's always been that way.
And it's always so with the prior service provider, they were also included?
When we went out to contract for the collection service, that area was included, yes.
Last time with the previous
Time had been included. They've been
yeah.
included for
some time.
time. It's just obviously the charge has gone up
Yes.
a bit. And they've got the green bin, which is obviously they're saying they don't
Yep.
need.
Okay. Councillor Natakawa, did you have something?
Yeah, just it refers to the Honourable Drive map below. So I found there was no map actually
Did
included.
that not pull through?
Did that not pull through?
So I found it hard to actually look at this without that map as a reference.
Oh, why did that not pull through? It was certainly in the report.
Okay.
Was it all the residents, or
Sorry?
was it every resident in that street?
Can we put on the screen?
I think there's 25 who are currently paying based on the report. How many residents are there? We don't know. Okay.
Oh, I'd have to take that on.
Councillor Dennis.
I think the residents had an opportunity a long time ago to address this and to look at their options when this was being introduced, and there was, to my knowledge, nothing brought forward in relation to that. There were no protests about that previously. The information that came out from council about the new collection service was quite lengthy and very in-depth, including visits, and at no stage, to my knowledge, was anything raised about this issue. And every other resident within the catchment area in all shires, in all towns under the Berrigan Shire, was under the same conditions, given with the same information. Mm-hmm. So I find the petition unusual in the timing.
Okay. Do any councillors have a motion they'd like to put in relation to this? It does sound like a review is in order, in my opinion. Option 3 has some appeal for a couple of reasons. One, that a review is appropriate. Second, we're about to adopt a budget, and I don't think we should be losing money from our budget at this point, which has been set, at least at draft level, based on known facts. But a review could definitely consider a petition. So I would propose the third option there. I'd be happy to move that if someone would like to second that. Councillor Dennis?
On that review, there have been many other requests to include bin service collection in areas that currently don't get it. So if you're looking at the review, it works both ways.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Dennis, you weren't seconding that. Let's deal with the motion that I've proposed. Do we have a seconder for the motion?
Yeah.
Councillor Natakawa. Okay. So the review would not be just Honourable Street. it's a comprehensive review is the wording there.
Yeah.
I've got,
Did anyone else have any questions or comments or speak for or against? Councillor Stringer.
Did, I remember they came at me with this. Did did everybody in the street sign that petition?
I don't believe they've got quite everybody, but they've got a fair chunk. And again,
Yeah, but they
They're gonna
didn't,
be- if
they
you're-
didn't get everybody.
yeah, no.
So some people are happy with their,
Or at the very least, they're not happy.
yes. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I think this is the wording of the retain Honourable Drive in the domestic waste collection area pending a comprehensive review of the service to all residential rural areas. Is that all areas in Tocumwal? Let's make it Tocumwal. We don't need to review the world. Council may wish to permit Honourable Drive residents to hand back their bins and move to the undercollected service. Do we wish to? I just want the bit in bold is what I'm moving. And Councillor Natikoa, are you happy with the bit in bold?
Yes.
But limiting it to Tocumwal?
Yep.
Okay. So retain Honourable Drive in the DW collection area pending a comprehensive review of the DW service to all residential rural areas in Tocumwal. That's the motion that we have. Would anyone else like to speak in favour?
Yeah, I was in favour of
Yeah,
the review.
anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Dennis.
I just am wondering if this is like opening a Pandora's box when something has already been set with the rates, and the information was quite extensive with the review in the initial phases. I'm not sure that a review would have the desired outcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone
I have
else?
a question.
Sure,
I have a question.
Councillor
Now I've
Hannan.
got a hand up there. Excuse me. Understanding Councillor Dennis's point about people have wanted to actually be brought into the zone to have their waste collection, and it hasn't only happened in Tocumwal, it's happened in Barooga as well over the past. My only concerns would be that if a private contractor does then business doesn't discontinues. We have had issues throughout our shire with illegal dumping in the past. I'd hate to see that happening again. And also, as I said, we do have people that are seeking to that, and isn't one of the core jobs of the shire is to collect waste within its boundaries.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hannan. Anyone else?
Designated area.
Okay, so we'll put the motion that we have, which is to review Honourable Drive, the DW collection area, pending a comprehensive review of the service to all residential rural areas in Tocumwal. So all in favour, can we have our hands up high so I can count, please? Carried. Thank you. 827, the Green Waste Voucher Scheme. It's all about rubbish today. Again, direction of council is sought. Deputy CEO, did you want to speak about this?
Again, this is, while I've included it in a report for a resolution, you don't necessarily need to resolve anything here. You have already determined you're running a voucher scheme for 2 years. What we wanted to do at staff level was give you an update of where we are and what we think has worked and what we think needs tweaking, and allow you to have a think about where you want to go from here. The one thing I hope the report makes clear is the system that we've got right now is not working. I don't believe it's addressing the needs of the community. I don't believe it's certainly having an impact on staff. It certainly doesn't seem to be leading to community satisfaction as opposed to community angst. But that said, that's the system we put together at reasonably short notice last year when council determined to go down this path. If you're of a mind to continue the voucher scheme, and as I say, your resolution says it's got another 12 months to go at least, then we would obviously recommend that we would move to vouchers with your rate notice to go out. We need some direction on that pretty much today, if that's where you want to go. If you're asking me for not for an independent view, from a view from outside about what would be more efficient, it'd still be more efficient almost to just remove your green waste charge and just go back to being free. For the amount of effort and for the amount of work that we're doing and the amount of angst the whole voucher seems to have created, when I don't believe there was necessarily a huge amount of angst in the first place, having green waste being dropped for free is probably addressing the issue that you might have had and probably less administratively complex. The other point I would make is one of the beauties about having the green waste contract, and one of the reasons why it is good, is people putting the green waste in the green waste bins, we never see it. It goes straight from the truck out to Echuca and gets dealt with there. Leaving green waste, taking green waste to the waste management facility that doesn't get picked up and go to Echuca, we need to deal with that.
And it's costly. It's costly
Right.
to deal with that.
Yep.
Yeah. It is costly to deal with the green waste from the landfill site for us, so.
Okay, so any questions or comments? Councillor Hannan.
Yeah, look, the Deputy CEO has pretty much answered the question. We moved this to last year for a 2-year period. It's unfortunate that administratively it's been poorly handled by the sound of it. And I don't know, is the objections to the scheme, is it only through Facebook channels, or is it through people actually approaching council or councillors? I've had not one person approach me about it.
No, it's like abuse at the tip.
Staff.
And staff at the counter here, yeah.
The libraries.
And at the
Yeah,
libraries.
And abuse being that what they're taking in is not under the scheme.
No, that,
Can I? Sorry.
Deputy CEO.
Sorry, Julie.
no, you.
So the feedback we've had from staff has been that people eligibility for the scheme. So the original resolution said it was only for people who are in the DWM collection area, because for them they're paying a green waste charge. For people in the rural area, they're not paying a green waste charge. So the idea was they would continue to pay their $12 per cubic metre regardless. However, coming and trying for staff to enforce that when handing out vouchers has been difficult, because people say, well, that's not right, that's not fair, that's not what I'm told. And so rather than have staff argue with them and create conflict, we've just said give them the voucher regardless. The idea that they can only have one voucher at a time and use it, no, they want to collect all three and then sit there and hold them for one time. Again, we tried to hold the line on that. It became too volatile, so again...
We've had people with photocopied ones. And to say that it's been, the administration's been poorly handled, I don't actually think that's fair. We've done the best we can with the notice that we were given, and we've tried to put in a system that was as fair as possible to the people who needed it, but it's people who feel that they need it but don't meet the criteria that are angry about it.
Yeah, okay, maybe my choice of words might have been correct there, but if we had a policy in place around the use and the handing out of the vouchers, then why wasn't that administered to the letter of law, especially from council staff?
It wasn't, because literally we were having library staff almost refuse to deal with the vouchers full stop because of the stress it was creating. And ideally we wouldn't have started the way we started if we had had time to implement a system similar to what we're talking about now, where they went out with your notices and so on. I think we might have been able to address some of the psychosocial concerns with staff having to be in the middle of this policy decision. But the resolution, and I understand why it came, and I understand the timing wasn't great, but it came in July, literally after the notices had gone out. We had to put in place a system that we could try and keep track of, and we've done the best we can. I guess I'm telling you that system that we put in place to try and meet the criteria as specified in the resolution as best we can has been difficult for staff to manage, complex and expensive. We've got another 12 months. If we need to do another 12 months, and then the staff here will do another 12 months, we're suggesting that, you had 12 months now, do you want to review it? Or number two, if you want to keep the voucher scheme, then perhaps we go down the rate notice path and we just see how that works. And that way you've had 1 year of it going out, handing out for libraries, another year of it going out with rate notices, and then you've got 2 years with different models to compare and see how that works. The other thing is that the costs that we have provided in terms of green waste vouchers in the report is for every assessment to get vouchers, not just those in the DWM area. So
I've got a couple of questions. So the staff time is sunken costs, it's not overtime?
no, it's not overtime. No, it's
Just-
costs.
It's costs we would be paying anyway.
That's
Yeah, so it is cheaper. Do we have actual numbers of reports of inappropriate behaviour from ratepayers?
no, I do not have exact numbers and
Yeah.
details. It's reasonably anecdotal, but
Yeah, I think firstly, if those things happen, people need to 100% report them with the details. We can't be just having anecdotal feedback. It's not right. We need to look after those people. They need to have the comfort to report those things. And we need some actual data. It helps us make our decisions. They're the main questions I have. Councillor Stringer?
Just along those lines there, it's when somebody goes into the library, they've got to produce their rate notice. So if they're going to get abusive, you're going to know who they are.
yeah, and that's part of the issue. So why do I need my rate notice?
People are refusing to do that.
I'm a
Well, it's a
resident, I'm
simple thing.
ratepayer.
Bring your rate
Yeah,
notice
and
to
then-
prove that you pay rates and you get your tickets.
And then you have tenants who are up for the charge and they can't get the rate notice off their landlord.
Because they're not the ratepayer.
I understand it's just discussions that we've got reasonably,
Yeah.
our staff at the libraries necessarily aren't.
Mornington Peninsula Shire, they just go out with the rate notice. They're on the bottom, you perforate it, you tear them off. There it is, goes with the rate notice.
That's one of the
Bang.
options in this report.
Yeah. Councillor Healy?
Can I make a comment? I would say possibly there's confusion and the frustration that community members have when they're going to get the vouchers is that they don't actually understand them. I still, I don't believe that the majority of our residents even know that the vouchers are available. And feedback I have received is that why aren't they coming out with the rates notice, because then we've got them in our hand. And am I seeing on the financial cost, there's not a huge difference between, or there's $3,000, I think, difference between sending them out with the notice versus sending them.
I think it's the sunken cost. So you take away the
Right.
17,000, it's actually only about $5,000.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Councillor Brooker?
I did have quite a few people at the community engagement day say they weren't aware, and I said, well, you can go to the library, the way it was implemented. Once they found out, they were happy.
Yeah.
But is there an option where we can just have 1 or 2 open days for free green waste, rather than voucher system where it's a Saturday morning at the start of spring or something like that where the landfill is open?
Those are all options, yeah.
I think you want to talk to.
Scope it.
I think this comes back to one of the issues that staff have with the proposal, full stop. And it's not that we oppose necessarily the proposal, it's just where, I guess, a bit more clarity about what the aims of the policy decision is. Is this designed to be a system to allow for those with limited means to be able to dispose of green waste and not have to pay the charge, or is it everyone's getting the benefit because it's just a little service that we provide? My understanding when the proposal was first put to council, it was on the basis that we had a pensioner who was getting charged a surcharge by her lawn mowing contractor to take her green waste to the tip now that it was getting charged. And it was about, well, that's a bit hard on those
group of
people in
people.
limited circumstances. So is this supposed to be a targeted scheme to target people in need, or is this just a general, we understand cost of living's high and we want people to keep their yards tidy and whereabouts?
I think it was a
supporting
broader
that?
issue with the introduction of the green bin, let's be frank.
Right. No,
Yep. Is there a
ju-
motion that anyone would like to move, or do we keep it as it is for another 12 months and ask for more information?
If a notice, not so much the vouchers went out with the rates notice, but a notice was printed on the bottom saying that you are eligible for free green waste, please pop into your library or contact the council office. That way,
Is that
you're not
possible?
sending out vouchers that don't need to go out, but people are made aware that is an option.
We
And
can
please
s-
present your rates notice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So whether
Bring
we,
your rates
Please
notice.
bring this to the library
so
or
whether
the
we,
the council office.
whether we send vouchers or we send a little flyer with a rate notice, it still has a cost for printing.
Just print on the rates notice.
Print on the bottom of the rates notice itself.
Oh, that changes the
template.
form, the template.
Okay, can we do some promotion of the existing arrangement? And
Oh.
see how we go. Councillor Hannan.
I'd just like to move that we continue the scheme for a further 12 months with an attached voucher to the rates notice, because if we're honest, you know, I look at my rates, I look at the figure, and that's all I do, and I pay it. I'm not quite sure that people are going to read in fine print down the bottom, because that's all it'll be, that you're eligible for a green waste voucher. And when we introduced this scheme, it was never a scheme that was going to last for entirety. It was going to be phased out after the first 2 years. It was originally introduced to soften the blow, as Mayor Julia said, around those that access the tip on a Sunday morning, and now and those that also now, you know, we're putting on a green waste charge to those within our community. So I'd just like to move that simple resolution and we get on, and then we phase it out after the next 12 months.
Okay. So that's to the option of with the rate notice, and that's with the budget of 25K roughly. Do we have a mover? Yes, we've got a seconder for Councillor Hannan's.
Yeah.
Councillor Natakawa.
Point of clarification,
Yeah.
is the resolution include that it'll be phased out in 26, 27?
Would you like the resolution to include the phase out or to revisit in 12 months?
That's what I said.
Okay.
Phase out? Yep.
Okay. Okay, so
We'll
that
put
includes
in the
phase
notices.
out.
This will be only for the 25-26 financial year.
Just another question, like do we know how many vouchers have actually been
in
accessed
the
and
report.
used?
So that's in the report there.
25%?
438 to the end of,
Yep. Because I know, like, given that the green waste bin is emptied every week.
Yep.
Like,
People don't
It
understand that either.
has reduced our waste to landfill by 41%. It's a
Yeah.
significant reduction. So it has worked, putting in the green waste bins.
Okay, we've got a motion. Who would like to speak in favour? Anyone else? Councillor Dennis?
The green waste vouchers are very costly, we've seen that, and to phase them out I think is essential, and I would probably be more in favour of not having them now, to actually cease them.
Okay, that's speaking against, so we'll come back to you. Someone to speak for the motion? No? Sorry,
I'm
continue on.
happy to
Yeah.
speak again,
Yeah.
using those numbers of 468, whether that's individual properties or whether that's a collective, because understanding that you can only use 3 of those vouchers. So if I do a quick maths, that's, you know, at least 120 property owners have used it. That's a significant set of data. So the phasing, I think if we want to be fair income, and we put a policy in place, we said it was going to be in for 2 years. I understand that we do have options to review the policy. For the $25,000, we stick to our word and we phase it out as we indicated when we first introduced the scheme.
Okay, so what we've got actually here on this motion says consider scheme for another 12-month, then review. We'll get rid of the then review in your motion, Councillor Hannan, because we're saying phase out as point 3. So, sorry, Councillor Dennis, you were speaking against and perhaps foreshadowing.
Just that they not continue at all.
So no more for this coming financial year. Would you like to foreshadow that as a motion? Should the other one not be successful? Okay. Anything else for your foreshadowing?
Due to the cost.
Due to the cost.
And it costs for the green waste to be processed, and it costs the council a significant amount for that to
Transfer
happen.
from the landfill.
Can I just
Yeah. Councillor
make
Hannan?
another comment for?
Yeah.
People are still going to there'll be a certain amount of people who will still take it and pay for it, because at the end of the day, they don't have the capacity to get rid of it. Either that, or it's going to end up burnt in people's paddocks, and it's going to end up dispersed in other ways. I mean, you put 2 banana leaves and 2 loads of your mower, catcher, lawn clippings in your green bin, and it's full.
Yep.
So you do any sort of pruning, you do any sort of, rows, you hedge your rows or anything like that, it's chockers. So you've got to get rid of that green waste somewhere. You can't store it on your own property.
Yep, so we're not debating the foreshadow at the moment. I've been called out on a technicality to my left here rather loudly. However, anyone else against the motion that we are currently debating? Councillor Stringer.
I don't think we should phase it out.
Okay, so you'd like to foreshadow the same motion without a phase out?
Without a phase out, I think it
Okay.
should stay.
We've all read up on our little picture here. Well done, everybody. Okay, so you're after Councillor Dennis. Anyone else? All right, let's go with the Councillor Hannan's.
No,
Yeah, Councillor Hannan's first.
Thank you, I'm correct. Councillor Hannan's motion, so everyone is clear, is item 1, consider the scheme for another 12 months. Continue, it says consider, continue. Attach voucher for the rates notices, vouchers with 25-26 and phase out the scheme. Okay, let's put this one to the vote. Please put your hands up for me so I can see them. So those in favour of that motion? Carried. So that means the other 2 lapse, sorry. But good work, everybody. We will go to 8:28 before we take a break, or actually we'll go to 9 as well. 8:28 is the Snell Road half-cost scheme. The recommendation is that council, pursuant to clause 217, 218 and 219 of the Roads Act 1993 and policy 40, contributory footpath and curb and gutter scheme, proceed with applying the half-cost scheme to the curb and gutter works on Snell Road, Baruga, the west side between Aramagong Road and Chomley Street, Baruga. Do we have a mover? Mover? Councillor Brooker, seconder? Councillor Natikoa. Okay. Did you want to explain this at all, CEO?
Through Gary?
Around these half-cost schemes is a lot of early developments did not have footpaths and curb and gutter. And to recoup these costs, when we start getting a lot of drainage issues or around our PAMPs, our pedestrian access mobility plan, our connectivity, is that council don't have enough funding to do a lot of this new works, and to recoup these costs. And then under these sections in the policy, we look to hit up the residents or the landowners of the adjacent property, because it benefits them in their retail price of selling the land, around the stormwater drainage collection points without a lot of probably excess water hanging around their properties. So it benefits everyone around going forward.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, would you like to speak in favour?
Well, it's got to be done, and
Yep.
someone's got to pay for it, so.
And
Yeah.
I don't feel you can make them an exception just because that it was done previously. Like, there's been other drains and gutters been put in that have had to front that half-cost charge. So I think it doesn't become equitable if you're going to say, oh, well, because it wasn't done when it was done, we can't recoup the money, but then the next instalment they'll be getting charged for it. So I think it needs to be standard as.
Yep. It is a not insignificant cost because the frontage on Snell Road is substantial. Do we offer payment plans?
We can do.
The policy has a clear payment plan in there,
Yep.
so it's 3 years of payments interest-free.
Yep.
Okay.
The debt also attaches to the
The
land, so
So if it's
So
sold,
if
it goes to the
it goes
next
to the
owner
next
to
owner,
continue
similar
the
to a
payment.
rates debt.
Yep.
And again, we have a hardship policy even over and above the 3-year payment plan. So if someone came to us with genuine hardship and said, what can we do, then obviously we would
Put them on a
look
payment
sympathetically on that in line with our debt management hardship policy.
And the funds remaining in the budget for their project, where would they be redeployed?
So depending on fund allocation, because with the funds from this scheme, they can go back into the general fund. But under the grant funds, they'd have to go and align and be spent in line with the grant.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions, comments, for or against?
I suppose I do
Yeah,
just have
councillor
one.
Brooker.
Sorry, I do just have one question. Have, before the work started, were the residents notified that they were going to have to pay half the cost?
Unfortunately, yes, but it was a while ago, so that it's taken us a while to get to that. That's why we've brought this to you, that there was a lapse in the timeframe.
Technically, we already had the authority to go ahead at staff level. We brought this to you because of that time lapse.
Yep.
Can we expeditiously contact the
Absolutely.
resident should this resolution be passed? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll put the motion, so all in favour? Okay, carried. Thank you. All right, item 9 is our notices of motion and questions with notice of which we have none. What I propose is that we move into closed council, but we firstly have a break of 15 minutes. So could I ask someone to move us into closed council? Councillor Natikoa, seconded Councillor Dennis. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. So we will be in closed council. There are some significant issues. We will have a 15-minute break, so we may not be streaming for some time. So thanks, everyone. Thank you. We are now out of closed council. During closed council, we considered item 10.1, which was in relation to Chanter Street Underground Power Project. We awarded the tender submitted by GPE HV Proprietary Limited for contract T14 2425 Chanter Street Powerline Project, Berrigan, for the contract value of $960,050, including GST, subject to the CEO reviewing the scope and negotiating with the preferred supplier any changes. Delegate authority to sign all associated contracts and agreements relating to the tender to the CEO. We appoint Gary George as the contract authorised person. We return $100,000 from the roads budget to this project to reduce the shortfall. We closely monitor and report to council any savings provided through the project delivery, which will reduce the financial burden. And we delegate to the CEO to remove street trees if identified. Item 10.2 is a confidential matter. Item 10.3 relating the organisational structure was a report for receiving and noting. And item 10.4 was in relation to the CEO's performance review. Council received and noted the CEO's performance review report provided by the Remuneration Committee for the period 1 July 2024. I don't think that's the correct title of the committee. Can we please check that? I think it's a performance review panel.
Sorry, it is
1 July to 30 June, and provide the following recognition of the performance. The CEO's salary component of her remuneration be increased by 3% from 1 July 2025, and that we adopt the CEO's Performance Action Plan 25-26 as provided. All right, we're up to motions without notice and questions without notice. Do we have any? Councillor Stringer.
I have one for Andrew. In relation to the dead tree removals on the foreshore for the foreshore committee, how do we have an answer on that, or?
Yes, so we've spoken to two parties in relation to just assisting them through the process. Unfortunately, they do require a development application. So we've outlined what the process is and how they have to do it. As part of it, we've also outlined that they can make a request to waive the fee, which can be considered by officers, and as such, then we can process the application and make a decision.
Okay. And the other one is the dog problem in Tocumwal. Do you know about that one?
There's a few ongoing issues in regards to dogs. We've had a number of incidents reported, which are followed up by the ranger in regards to taking statements from relevant people, photographs and other things. On that basis, then we go through an assessment criteria to determine if we have to declare the dog dangerous or not, and then the process of what that involves, and or potentially serving fines on the owner as well.
Yeah.
But there's two of them within Tocumwal at the moment that are being considered.
Yeah, and one of them has the swimming pool that has to be checked. Has that been done, do you know, or? So, the report we provided to council in regards to biosecurity and compliance outlined the number of pools that we have inspected. As a council obligation, if it's a pool within a private property, unless they want us to do so or they're selling the property, there's no obligation for council to go out and mandatory undertake an inspection. Even if it doesn't have the requirement?
Safety barrier fences are a obligation of the owner, but they can employ either a private building surveyor, certifier, to go out and deem compliance or not, or they can request council. They've got two options to do.
Yeah, right, okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I have one
Councillor Healy?
question. Just after attending a Tidy Towns meeting last week in Berrigan, I'm just curious, is there a process or is it part of a routine, I guess, for top dressing walking tracks? There was a query around the tank paddock needing attention, but I wasn't sure whether that was something that council tends to.
No, we don't have a program for top dressing
No.
nature strips, so yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And in the regard to the tank paddock, a lot of that is native vegetation, so you have to be careful around what we did there anyway, so yeah.
Okay, do we have anything else? I do have a motion without notice. I'm going to request that the report, requested a report on the financial review / audit of council's statements or financial situation be brought to the extraordinary meeting to be held on 30 June.
Yep. That we can do.
Do we have a seconder for that one? Councillor Natikoa, all in favour of that one? Excellent, thank you. All right, we will move to the Mayor's report. Okay, so, they're all in front of me already, this is brilliant. So 28 May in Berrigan, I went to the staff lunch, went to the consultation online in Tokemore for a DA with the submitters. I had a meeting with Tokemore Football Netball Club on 30 May. We met with Murrumbidgee Local Health District online on the 2nd of June. It's in response to some concerns we had in relation to a meeting with the Tokemore Dementia Group and the conduct of some of their staff. I spoke to Karina on the 2nd of June in relation to her appraisal. We had community consultation in Finley on the 2nd of June. We had the professional development workshop for June, community consultation in Berrigan on the 5th of June, Brugg Advancement Group 10th of June, Tokemore consultation 11th of June. I met with Michael Jones, who's helping with the financial reports and such, on 11th June. Community consultation in Baruga last night, and the meeting today. And I had forgotten, we met with Jason Clare's office on the 3rd of June online in relation to the CUC, so it's slightly out of sequence. Before I get someone to move my report, I have got a special job today. So last month we congratulated our Deputy CEO for 20 years of service. And so this month we say congratulations and thank you and good luck at Griffith.
Oh, thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Councillor Hannan.
Could I have some indulgence if I could, please? Just around Matt. So, Matt, I've known Matt for 18 years as a Director of Corporate Services and the Deputy CEO. Matt's educated myself and a lot of councillors over a long period of time, has been able to stand in front of formal hearings and represent the Berrigan Shire in a great light, and his corporate knowledge is second to none. You don't get loyalty like Matt, to the Berrigan community and to the Berrigan Shire Council. His loyalty to the community through Badams, through the Golf and Bowling Club, through the Amaroo and any other thing that I've missed there is second to none. So I, again, as well as probably knowing Matt the longest in the room, bar a few outdoor staff, would like to wish Matt all the best at Griffith City Council. And I'm sure we'll reach, he'd be quite happy if we had to reach out for any corporate knowledge that he'd be happy to pass that on.
Thank you, Councillor Hannan. Would you like to say a few words, Matt?
Not quite sure what to say. Look, thank you to everyone across my entire time here at Berrigan Shire. It has been the best job I've had in my life, and I've enjoyed working with each and every one of you. I am excited about the challenge, but I'm also very, very sad to leave this organisation. This hasn't just been a job for me. It's been something really close to my heart. And regardless of what happens from here, I'll be keeping an eye on what goes on and having a look. I'll probably be one of those tragics who'll read the agenda and so on, just to keep an eye on what's happening. It's letting go is going to be a bit hard for me. It is such a place and an organisation in my heart. But thank you, everyone. I won't say too much more in case I get a bit more emotional, but thanks, everyone. Thank you.
So now could I get a mover, please, of my report? Councillor Natikoa, second to Councillor Dennis. All in favour in accepting that? Excellent, thank you, and thank you to the gallery. Councillor reports. Councillor Natikoa.
So I attended the whole team lunch on the 29th of May, then the community consultation on the 2nd of June in Finley, and then the Tokemore one on the 11th. I did also attend online the development application submission discussion consultation event. And then yesterday I was at the Southern Riverina Drought Resilience Plan Implementation Workshop, which I found was actually quite beneficial. I sort of felt very out of my depth, but that once we actually got through into the information and the different connections that can be made, it was actually quite an enjoyable event to be a part of. As I said earlier, a bit disappointing that I wasn't there to sort of see it all wrap up today, but would be, there was another staff member that was attending today.
Yes.
So it would be great to get some feedback from
There will be other
her.
sessions too in like Corowa and stuff, so you're welcome to.
Yeah, so
pop over.
that'd be quite interesting to sort of see that through, I guess, the wind-up stage of this last 2 years. And then at Chambers today, so.
Councillor Dennis.
Attended the DAB's submission at Tokemore, the community consultation at Tokemore and Baruga.
Thank you. Councillor Stringer.
No, I got nothing. I've been a bit busy.
You've been unwell. Councillor Healy.
I attended the DA session online, as well as the community consultations in Finley and Berrigan, and the Berrigan Tidy Towns and Conservation Group meeting last week.
Thank you. Councillor Brooker.
Yep, so I attended the Baruga Advancement Group meeting as well on the 10th of June and the community sessions at Tokemore and Baruga.
Thank you. Councillor Payne.
I attended the community consultation at Berrigan on the 5th of June. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Hannon.
Yeah, the community consultation in Finley and Tokemore.
Okay, thank you everyone. So, of course, my computer's just turned off. What's going on? Oh no, it's still here. Before we close the meeting, I did want to mention that we do have those community consultations sessions have concluded. However, the video of the presentation of the long-term financial plan is available on both councils' Facebook page and our website, and we would encourage people to have a look at that. The exhibition period for the documents that are in exhibition closes on the 25th of June. However, the presentation remains relevant beyond that, so if people do have any interest, I'd direct them to take a look at that. The next council meeting will be an extraordinary meeting, and that's to be held on 30 June 2025 at 9 a.m. here in the Chambers, and our next ordinary meeting is Wednesday 16 July 2025 at 9 a.m. There'll be no further business. I'll close the meeting at 11:55 a.m. Thank you.